Attention! Go!
That was a very long hold, sitting with the blade square in the water, but both crews seem to have got away quite nicely to get some nice shot of the Mercantile crew.
Both crews going hard off the start, and they're actually steering really, really well as they come up the island.
Yeah, looking at the crew from Germany on the right of our picture there, they're staying nice and close to the island. It's easy to find yourself getting pushed away, but they've stayed close to the island. I like the way they've steered that. They then go past the buoys. You see the red buoys to their side. Need to make sure they're nicely in position, which they are, to avoid those booms, which will appear out of the corner of your eye when you're rowing, and you know you've made a decent start. They're close to their booms on this side, but at this stage I think they're okay in that German boat.
Both crews going off the start quite quickly, to low 40 strokes per minute, and now settling down at their race pace. Mercantile look like they're squeezing into a bit of a lead here. They seem to stay a little bit more composed. They're probably taking 1 or 2 strokes less a minute. They've got a much longer stroke, and you can see their boat slowly starting to draw away from their opposition.
Yeah, Angus Maloney in the stroke seat there. We can see him right at the front of the picture, just taking a look out to the side and just trying to stay focused, keep the pace going. He's got their stroke coach in front of him, which will tell him how many strokes a minute they're doing, and they're just looking to ease away now. And that's Brennan Hermes in the stroke seat of the German crew, 23 years old, a little more experienced than his Australian counterpart, who's only 20. And the Germans look to have, they're looking to hold the move from Mercantile, but I think Mercantile have now managed to get themselves just out of sight of this German crew.
They're looking very relaxed, the German crew, aren't they? But probably at this stage they need to react. Mercantile is still drawing ahead, probably a couple of lengths lead now.
Yeah, they see them coming down. They're coming towards the mark we call the barrier. The barrier's about 2 minutes into the race. It's almost like the first 500 in most races. We tend to think of it as about the first quarter. As they go past that barrier mark, Mercantile have got a good hold on this race, but still plenty to happen.
Angus Maloney in the stroke seat, he's steering the Mercantile boat. He's doing a really, really good job. Unusual on this course for the stroke to steer the boat. When the boats go off the start, there's a upright marker and a V, so the crews off for the first couple of 100 metres can steer quite clearly off this, and this is where it gets tricky because that's off in the distance now. Yeah,
Jim, that's a great point you've made, because you can see those points. Thank you for that director there. Like a rifle sight, there's a V and a stick, so you can see it's one for each crew. They attempt to line those up, but Mercantile have wandered off their station here, come out towards the middle of the river, because as you say, they're a little bit further away from their rifle sight. Boris Rankoff in the coach in the umpire's launch behind might have to start thinking about whether he has to ease them back towards the station if those puddles are going to come down and cause any problems for the crew from Westfalen in Germany.
And looking at the umpire's boat gives you a good idea of the steering of the crews, because the umpire's boat always goes straight down the middle of the course, and to give Boris a very clear idea of where the centre of the river is.
Yeah, and it looks to me like this crew from Mercantile here on the River Yarra in the centre of Melbourne have settled back onto their station. They're not out of their water. They're perfectly allowed to do what they're doing, and they're making very good progress there down the course.
They're taking 34, 35 strokes a minute consistently now, and they look very composed and controlled, and they're in control of this race.
Yeah, and that's the Forley marker that they've just gone past, so that's halfway through the race. So they're now into this important third quarter. Mercantile look like they've got it nicely under control. Just moving very well together, aren't they? The bodies come through nicely together.
And this race, I think they'll enjoy that hard race yesterday against Molesey A. Their race was nearly 20 seconds quicker than Westfalen's race yesterday. And Molesey A pushed Mercantile all the way. It was only a length and a quarter verdict in the end, so they've had a hard race. So this one they'll enjoy a little bit more, I think, because they're now in quite a commanding position.
Yeah, I think they're doing a nice job of it, because they're not letting up too much. You don't want to lose the rhythm when you get out in front and then it becomes scrappy. But as you say, this is they raced yesterday in the Wyfolds. There's 32 entries, so to make it through to the final you have to race 5 times. So you have to manage yourself through the regatta, look to improve, look to build race by race. And Mercantile, as you say, they're nicely in control of this, passing Remenham Club there on the left, and they look nicely in control.
We have to give a lot of credit to Westfalen as well. They're not giving up, are they? Sort of keeping at it, taking an extra couple of strokes a minute, than Mercantile. They're not letting Mercantile have it all their own way.
No, that's right. They're hanging in there. They've raced at Ghent Regatta this year. Some of the crew have raced at Henley before, but they've pleased to have won a race yesterday, I would imagine, and they've come up against a very classy crew from Australia here this morning.
Yeah, and their stroke man, Brennan, he was studying in the UK recently, so he'll be no stranger to the Henley course and understand what it's all about. Yeah, they're coming down towards those enclosures now. It's the competitors' enclosure first, which I would expect to be a little bit busier than it was yesterday, given that sadly a decent number of people were eliminated yesterday, so those athletes now might get a chance to come along and watch some of the racing. And that's the competitors' enclosure there that they first pass before they then come down to the main stewards' enclosure. And then, of course, going to be the brutal part of this event. You know, a lot of crews can be out by Wednesday. You know, almost half the crews are out by Wednesday evening, and they're the ones that qualify. Don't forget, we have qualifying races last Friday, and there are many crews who've come from overseas who don't even get to race at the regatta itself. So just coming along the enclosures, this crew from Mercantile in Melbourne, looking very solid, very strong. Great pedigree of coxless four rowers coming from Mercantile, the original awesome foursome. Many of them started off rowing at Mercantile, and these guys doing a lovely job of just keeping that boat moving along so steadily, really quiet around the finish of the stroke, and then letting the boat just move, and then letting the boat come underneath them, collecting it and moving it on. Yeah, it looks so smooth and controlled, doesn't it? 33 strokes a minute or thereabouts. Very much in command of this race. Yeah, Greg, you're right. Apparently over 30 Mercantilians have completed the Olympic level, so it's a club with a proud and successful heritage. You could almost say it was the Molesey of Australia. I wouldn't go that far. No, perhaps not. So anyway, we're coming down towards the line, and that's a solid win for Mercantile ahead of this crew from Westfalen in Germany. Just crossing the line now. So that's confirmation of that heat to the Wyfold, a win for Mercantile over the crew from Westfalen in Germany.